Alright guys, so I'm working on the old Massey Harris again. Just took the head a couple days ago, took it up to the shop, machine shop, have them shave it. So I don't know when I'll get that back, but that's getting done on it. I ordered me a radiator. I got a radiator for an Alice Chandler because we had one for one of our other tractors and it fitted. Not really fit it, but I can make it work. The only thing I'm going to run into is I'm not going to have that long neck to stick up through the hood, so I'll have to kind of reach up under the hood to get to it, which I don't guess it's too big a deal, but I don't really like it. But the radiator wasn't that much. It was like $100, so it was an aluminum one, brand new. And since we've already got a couple Alice Chandlers, I figured, well, if I get an aluminum radiator and put it in here and run this whole thing and it proves itself to me, then maybe I will be more willing to spend the money to get the original radiator for it. Original radiator is almost $600 for a rebuilt one. This one, I could use this one, but the shroud's all bent up, the frame's all bent up, and it's got two busted flues. One right in there, I think, and one right in there. I think it's right there. Two busted flues. Because they were rough with it. They almost took it off the tractor and threw it. Which, judging by the rest of it, I wouldn't doubt it. So, I think today's video, I'm going to take the carburetor back off and pull that manifold, pop the valves out, lap them. Hopefully I'll have the head back and put my new gaskets on, put my new manifold on, put the carburetor back, and we'll be back to where we were when I started on this thing, which is, will it run? So hopefully I can get all that done on this video, and we'll see if it'll actually pop off and run. I don't know if I damaged one of the pistons whenever that thing happened. And if I have, then I don't know what I'm going to do, because I really don't want to put that money into this thing. It'd be that one down in there. Let me rotate it up so we can look at it. Alright, so there it is up to the top, and you can kind of see it kind of sticks below. This side's level, this side's below. This one's even all the way around, and the rest of them are the same. So this is the problem one. This is the one that had the stuff packing into it. So I'm worried it might have deformed this piston. And I don't know if it's just deformed the piston or is there's that much play in the cylinder, and I don't think there's any play in the cylinder. So I don't know. I don't know if I should take the motor apart and check it or just let her go. I really don't know. Kind of the point where I don't want to put any more money in it, I'm I've went over what I thought I would have to go. It's almost getting to the point where it's almost not even worth fixing, to be honest. It's almost just, let's pull the back tires off, pull the front tires off, and throw the thing on Craigslist. That's almost where I'm at right now with this thing. Because it seems like every time I accomplish something, I've got to backtrack. But I'm going to keep moving forward here, try to get this thing done. I'm going to try to get all this whole head gasket cleaned off, and we'll see what we got. Alright, well, I think I found the problem. Yep, that's the intake. Exhaust. It's plugged shut with stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I think that might have been our issues. Man. But anyway, here's the manifold, what's left of it. I had to kind of hit it with a hammer to get that center stud out because it was rusted. And it was thin as paper. So it just flew in 1,000 pieces. Thank goodness I got me a new one, but yeah, that was the reason we couldn't get it to run. This one's the worst one, and this was the one that was giving me the most trouble. This is just like oily mud. Look at that. That just kept getting sucked into the engine. Man, that's terrible. Just absolutely terrible. Intake, intake, exhaust, 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 intake, intake, exhaust. They were all that way. So I don't understand, how is it not sucking this in there? It only did it on that one. It's weird. Okay, I'm going to take that valve cover off now. Alright, well, I finally got that valve cover off out of my way. I think I might have to pull that governor in order to get it back right, but had to take the oil pressure line off for the governor. Right there it goes down. Had to take him loose to get that draft tube. It's crazy, guys. It really and truly is. Just the amount of things that they didn't do that they should have done. Like that manifold. I mean, you've seen the stuff that was in those valve openings. Some of it was part of the manifold when it busted. It kind of fell down in there, but a lot of it wasn't. A lot of it was, you know, things like this. That's not manifold. That's actual rust chunks. So I'm going to go ahead and get these valves pulled and try to clean these surfaces up. Get the head clean, get where the head surface bolts, get it cleaned up. Get the valves took out, clean them up on the wire wheel. Try to blow out the ports, and I'm going to get started on that, and I'll be back. Alright, well, I don't really remember where I left off last, but it's been a little while. Been probably about 3 months since I last filmed anything. But I did get my head back. I don't know if I told y'all I sent it off or not, but I sent my head off. Got it planed down, got it back. So now I'm getting ready to start pulling these valves out. Just haven't had a lot of wheel to come out here and work on this because of the oil on the floor and everything. It's just been kind of, you know, sickening, I guess. But I'm going to try to get my stuff together and get this thing hopefully where to run. I feel better about it. I've thought about it, and I've been thinking about it for a good while. And I know that one piston is a little messed up, but I'm not going to fool with it. I think it'll be just fine. I'm just going to clean the valves, put the head back on, put my new manifold on, button up the side, put the carburetor back on. We're going to see what it'll do. I'm kind of sick of it at this point. I don't want to put any more money in it until I have something in front of me that's worth putting money in, because right now it's literally it's literally scrap metal, honestly, other than some parts someone else could use. I am going to pull the grill back off. I'm going to take that hydraulic tank out, and I've got to make a radiator thing to put the radiator in with. I'm going to go with an Alice Chandler B radiator. That's not the one I'm going to use, but it's, it's just like it. I'm going with an aluminum one. And the reason I'm going with a B Alice Chandler's, well, because we've got one. So I was able to set it in here and see how it's going to line up, how it's going to work. And for two, I got one for $120. So that's a lot cheaper than the $700 or $800 it was going to cost to get an original one to fit this tractor. And we've got Alice Chandler, so if this doesn't work out, we've got a brand new aluminum radiator for a Alice Chandler. So it's not a big deal. But I've got my valve spring compressor, so I'm going to start pulling these out. And I think I've been kind of looking at them, trying to get an idea of what kind of keeper system they have. It looks like it has a pin system, where it's just a pin through the bottom. So you lift a little cup up, pin will slide over to the side, pull it out with some needle nose, let the clamp off, drop the valve spring out, pull the valve out, And I'm going to go ahead and get all that out, get all those done, get this rusty surfaces cleaned up on everything, get the gaskets, what's left of them removed, and start cleaning this thing up, getting the new valves, or getting the valves clean, wire wheel them, whatever I've got to do, and put them back in one at a time, and figure out what we need next. I'm a little worried about this oil filter over here. The lines are they're leaking, as you can see. Everything's got motor oil on it. I don't know why it's like that, but it is. Everything is leaking. So I don't know if there's holes eating it, which I guess is possible, or if it's just kind of in a bind because it's kind of leaning over the side like that. But I'm going to get started pulling these valves. All right, so I got my valves pulled. Pretty bad, as you can see. I don't think it's pitted. It's just caked on greasy dirt. I don't know how bad it really is. Some of them you can still see. Like on that one, you can still see the lapped surface. That one's a little rough. I see a few actual pits in the middle. I don't know if I'm going to be able to clean this thing up, or if I'm going to have to get a seat cutter. And I really don't want to do that, but, that's just how it goes sometimes. We'll just have to see. I've got a cone wire brush. I don't know if I can put on my drill and clean that up. Might do that really quick. I don't know if these springs are different, but I did separate them. I think that's the exhaust. That's the intake. And here's all the little pins, keeper pins. And here's the valves. I've got them laid out on a board of the cylinders, whichever one to come to. I did get my numbers upside down, but it still worked out. But B's for back, S for front, and then 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here's number 3. Sorry, number 3. This was the worst one. This is the one that has the slightly damaged piston. Again, it's not terrible, but it definitely was not sealing. The exhaust, I don't understand why the exhausts are smaller than the intakes. I always thought it was the opposite, but that's how it is on this one. You got exhaust, 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 intake, intake. Crazy. That's how it is. This valve's a little pitted. This was, again, I think this was the worst cylinder. When the man rebuilt it, this was the worst cylinder because it's all pitted up. Why he didn't just pull and do the valves, I have no idea, but he didn't. But I think that's what I got so far. I did have to pull the governor to get in behind to get the valve spring on these two. Valve spring compressor on these two. So, and it's also going to make putting the valve cover back on later, because I had a time getting that thing off with that governor on, with the oiling tube that goes up to the gauge. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to go ahead and get my drill and clean up all these ports, and I'm going to take these one by one over to the bench grinder. wire brush them, clean those up, see what we got. And I'll be back when I get that done and show you what the damage is. Alright, well, I got the valve seats cleaned with wire wheel. As you can see, they're pretty pitted. That one's really bad. Number 3 actually surprisingly ain't that bad. Here's one I've already lapped. There's the valve. A little pitting in it, but I think I can live with that one. I think that one will be okay, considering the rest of them are in such bad shape. I think that one will be just fine. Now, I do know that one right there really needs to be cut, but I don't have a valve cutting tool. So what I'm going to do is take this valve, the one that goes in there, and I've got a stud welder. I'm going to weld a little stud right in the middle of it, set it in there, and use the drill, and I'm going to lap the you-know-what out of that one with the drill. The rest of them, I think I might get away with hand lapping them. We'll see. That in there's got some pitting in it. This one's not terrible. They're kind of a hit or a miss. I think the two in the middle were the worst two. These were the intakes right here. These were the worst two. Or exhausts, my apologies. Exhausts. These two exhausts were probably the worst two. So I figure both these middle cylinders probably had water in them at one time. Pretty much all the exhaust valves are in pretty bad shape, which makes sense, but looks like that in there has some chipping. I just noticed that going on in it. I might see if I can't knock that out of there, because that's going to eventually come out anyway, just to get it out of there. See about chipping that out of there, because I can tell it's not supposed to be there. It's just rust. If you can see the difference between this side and that side. Kind of closed up. So I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to get back to lapping, see how many of these I can get without having to have some major work. Did clean the surface of the head up, or not the head, surface of the block up where the head goes. The only thing I can't really clean is in behind here, right in there. I'm going to try to maybe take, I had it, I don't know where it went, a flat wheel, and get in there and see if I can't get it from both angles and get it out that way. I'll see what I can do. But for now, that's the only spot that I haven't really been able to get. And of course, I got to run a tap on all those, clean all those up. It really needs new studs, but I'm afraid I won't be able to get these out. So I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. But I'm going to keep lapping these out, see how many of them I can get without having to have a tool. Alright, so a little progress update on the valve lapping. I've got these two valves pretty good. I've got number 2s. One of them, that one right there, is about as good as I can get it. Still got some pitting. You can kind of see it right there. And then I ain't even messed with none of those yet. But here's the worst one so far. Still pretty bad, but I am making progress. It's slowly getting better. I've been taking a light and shining in the port and seeing how much we got through. The valves are in good shape. It's just the seats. You know, but I'm going to keep trying to lap this one. I've already lapped it about 3 times, so I'm going to see if I can't get it out. I mean, we got plenty of meat to cut into. If you look down here, we got plenty of adjustment, you can see, to make that thing go on, you know, down deeper in there. So I'm hoping I don't have to get a seat cutter. But if I do, you know, I don't know. Never had nothing like that. Don't really know how to set that up to use it. And I'm still kind of thinking about the motor, maybe taking the oil pan off and checking it out, because, I mean, they half done this. What did they do in the bottom end? Did they get the rod caps back right? Did they even change inserts? So the inserts wore. What did they do? I know it might sound silly to put brand new pistons in a motor and not do anything on the bottom end, but it also sounds silly to do that and then not lap the valves. So, I mean, I don't trust anything on this tractor anymore. I had, when I started on it, I thought, oh, the rear end's been redone, won't leak, motor's been rebuilt, we're good to go. And then I put gear oil in the transmission, and it started immediately running out of the brakes, so I've got to tear that back open now and see what that's all about. And then when I went to crank the motor, all the stuff that was in here sucked up in number 3 and damaged my piston. So I don't know what to trust anymore on this machine. I don't know what they've done. I don't know how far they've done. I don't know if they put stuff in backwards or wrong in the motor. And I know the motor spins over nice, and it probably would be just fine, but I think just to at least eliminate doubt, I'm going to pop that oil pan off and just check it out. I might even pop this little access cover off and see if I can see inside and see if I can see anything with one of those camera things. But I'll see what I can get into. But I'm just not a bit satisfied with this machine right now. Seems like everything that I do, there's something else that I need. Like the valves. But I'm going to keep doing this, try to get these done. I did try to weld a stud on it. It broke off because they're hardened, and my power out here absolutely sucks. So couldn't get enough heat on it to tack the little stud on there. And not to mention I couldn't get it dead in the center. That's important, getting it in the center. But I'm going to keep hand lapping them, as many of them as I can. This valve was so pitted I couldn't get the lapping tool to stick to it. I've still got one on this one to try, and I've got one on this one to try. This one I'm going to hand lap. So, see what I can get into here. Alright, well, I've already made up my mind. I'm going to go ahead and pull this motor out and pull the oil pan off and check the bottom end, check all the rods, make sure everything's tight, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and call this video over, and as you can see, I've kind of made something where I can lap these valves in a little bit better. That little suction cup thing just wasn't working out too great. These valves were really bad pitted. I did stick them in the lathe and just kind of touched them off a little bit. Just a little bit, just to shine the surfaces of them up so the glue would stick. I just used super glue. And those are just 1/4 bolts that I had a bunch of. And then I also faced the heads of the bolts off too, so it would be fresh metal on metal with glue. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to lap the valves as best as I can. And then I'm going to take some grease and just smear all over the top of it, smear all over the head, and put the head on. No gasket, no nothing, just to put the head on. And then put some nuts just to seal this motor back up. And then I'll probably ram some rags under the intake and exhaust ports and put the valve cover back on. I won't put the springs in it or nothing. I'll just leave the valves loose. Everything will be loose, because I'm going to have to pull this motor out. I don't trust anything that the previous owner did at all. I don't trust any of it. After seeing the amount of mistakes that the person made. Didn't do the valves. They didn't do anything else. They just put new rings and pistons in it. I do not trust anything. I want to make sure everything in this motor is in good condition before I even put any hours on it at all. Because, I mean, if this blows up, then the rest of the tractor is pretty much useless anyway without an engine swap, and I really don't want to get into that. So I'm going to call this video here. I know I've kind of left everything on a cliffhanger, but I'm not going to be working on this tractor anymore for a long time. Probably a couple years. So I'm just going to button it all back up, put it together where all the parts are in one place, and call it done, because I am not really wanting to get into that right now. That motor, that's going to be a big undertaking and probably some more money. So that's the two things I don't really want to use right now, is time and money, and on something that's really not going to be anything anytime soon. I have other projects that need my attention way more than this one does. That's one of them. I'm going to need that this summer. And a few other things around here that need more attention. I've still got the Z, still working on that Z. Fenders to it are still back there. I've still got to go through those. I've still got to finish the hood. So I cannot waste time on something that's really not going to amount to anything. So sorry to let you guys down. Didn't get it going. You don't get to see it run, but it will run one day, just not anytime soon. So I apologize for that. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye-bye.